The teenage brain. Parents, teachers, and others who deal closely with teenagers know how difficult the adolescent years can be. Adolescents have always been known to do wild, even dangerous things. This was thought to be due to the foolishness of youth. Now, brain imaging technology allows scientists to study the physical development of the brain in more detail than ever before. Their discoveries have led to a new theory of why teens act this way. A work in progress. Recently, scientists discovered that though our brains are almost at their full size by the age of 6, they are far from fully developed. Only during adolescence do our brains truly grow up. During this time, they go through great changes, like a computer system being upgraded. This upgrade was once thought to be finished by about age 12. Now, scientists have concluded that our brains continue to change until age 25. Such changes make us better at balancing impulses with following rules. But a still developing brain does this clumsily. The result, scientists claim, is the unpredictable behavior seen in teenagers. Pleasure seekers. The studies confirm that teens are more likely to take risks and behave in extreme ways. Fortunately, the news isn't all negative. As brain scientist B.J. Casey points out, the teen brain inspires such behavior in order to help teens prepare for adult life. One way the brain does this is by changing the way teens measure risk and reward. Researchers found that when teens think about rewards, their brains release more of the chemicals that create pleasure than an adult brain would. Researchers believe this makes the rewards seem more important than the risks and makes teens feel the excitement of new experiences more keenly than adults do. Research into the structure of the teen brain also found that it makes social connections seem especially rewarding. As such, teens have an intense need to meet new people. Scientists suggest this is because as teens, we begin to realize our peers may one day control the world we live in. Because it is still developing, a teen brain can change to deal with new situations. So it connects social rewards with even more pleasure. In this way, the brain encourages teens to have a wide circle of friends, which is believed to make us more successful in life. Unfortunately, this hunt for greater rewards can sometimes lead teens to make bad decisions. However, it also means that teens are more likely and less afraid to try new things or to be independent. The scientists' findings suggest that in the long run, the impulses of the teen brain are what help teens leave their parents' care and live their own lives successfully.
Seeing double. Gene theory. Many scientists once believed that physical similarities between identical twins are genetic, while their personalities, intelligence, and other differences between them are an effect of their environment. Now, scientists are discovering that the boundaries between genetics and environment are not so clear. The Jim twins. Identical twins, Jim Springer and Jim Lewis, were adopted as babies and raised by different couples. When the Jims finally met at age 39, they discovered they had plenty in common. Both were 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. They had the same smile and the same voice. When psychologist Thomas Bouchard Jr. invited the Jim twins to his lab, his colleagues found it very hard to tell them apart. But the similarities didn't stop at the physical. They both had dogs named Toy. They had both married women named Linda, and then divorced them. They'd both been sheriffs, enjoyed carpentry, suffered severe headaches, and admitted to leaving love notes around the house for their wives. They had so much in common, it seemed unlikely these were just coincidences. Genetics and intelligence. The Jim twins were just one of 137 sets of separated twins Bouchard tested. When they compared the twins' IQ scores, Bouchard and his team reached a surprising conclusion. They concluded that intelligence was mostly connected to genetics rather than to training or education. It seemed the differences in family and environment had little effect. However, genes can't control everything, argues geneticist Danielle Reed, who also studies twins. Reed's research shows that though nothing can truly change our DNA, environmental differences that a child experiences before birth and in their first year can sometimes affect the way the DNA behaves, making even identical twins into very different people. What I like to say is that Mother Nature writes some things in pencil and some things in pen, she explains. Things written in pen you can't change. That's DNA. But things written in pencil, you can.
The Big Thaw. The Chacaltaya ski area sits upon a small mountain glacier in Bolivia. Although the area is less than a kilometer long, it once hosted international ski competitions. In the past 10 years, however, the snow has melted very quickly. As Chacaltaya Glacier melts, dark rocks are uncovered. These rocks absorb more heat, causing the snow to melt faster. The cycle seems unstoppable in the long run. Today, the snow is almost gone, and so are Chacaltaya's days as a popular ski resort. A global problem. In recent years, scientists all around the world have come to a terrifying conclusion. Global warming is a real problem, and one largely caused by human activity. But as experts debate how to solve the problem, ice in mountains such as Chacaltaya and near the North and South Poles is melting faster than even the most pessimistic environmentalists once feared. 10 years ago, scientists warned that the Arctic Ocean could lose all its ice in about 100 years. Now, they think it could happen much sooner. As climate scientist Mark Suarez puts it, reality is exceeding expectations. Glacier Run. The ice sheet of Greenland is also melting more quickly than scientists predicted. Its largest outlet glacier, Jakobshavn Isbrae, is moving toward the sea faster than expected. In fact, the glacier is moving twice as fast as it was in 1995. Rising air and sea temperatures are two well-known causes. Researchers have also discovered other unexpected processes that cause them to melt faster. For instance, water from melting ice runs down cracks in the glacier and gets between the ice and the rock below. This makes it easier for the glacier to slide into the warmer seawater. Some researchers believe that Greenland's melting, if it continues, could add at least a meter to global sea levels by 2100. If the ice sheet of Antarctica, now largely unaffected, begins to melt, the next few centuries could see at least a 2-meter rise in sea levels, forcing tens of millions of people out of their homes. Drying out. While the melting of glaciers may flood some areas of the Earth, global warming is making the water disappear from other places. Many scientists think the glaciers of the Himalayas and the Andes could disappear in this century. As a result, millions of people in India, Bangladesh, Bolivia, and Peru who depend on water from mountain glaciers like Chakatea could find themselves in a critical situation. An increasing number of heat waves and droughts worldwide also suggests global warming is having an impact on humans right now, and that it could change the face of the world in the future. How can we avoid these terrible consequences? We have to have a serious and immediate shift in attitude, says Laurie David, a producer of the movie An Inconvenient Truth, which helped to raise awareness of the problem. Many believe that an attitude of hope and a desire to stay informed make a good beginning. As most would agree, an informed public is clearly in a better position to help address this critical issue.
Last Days of the Ice Hunters. A Life on the Ice. Jens Danielson kneels on his dog sled as it slides along the rough edge of a frozen sea. "Haru! Haru!" he calls out urgently. "Go left! Go left! Atsuk! Atsuk! Go right! Go right!" The 15 dogs in his team move carefully. Despite the freezing temperatures of the Arctic in late March, the ice is thin and has broken up, making travel dangerous. "The sea ice used to be 3 feet thick here," Danielson says. "Now it's only 4 inches thick." Global warming is clearly having an unfavorable effect on the amount of sea ice needed for hunting. As big as a bear, and with a kind, boyish face, Danielson is a 45-year-old ice hunter from Qaanaaq, a village of about 650 people whose brightly painted houses cover a hillside overlooking a fjord. He's heading toward the ice edge to find walruses, as Inuit hunters have done for as long as they and their ancestors can remember. With his extended family and 57 dogs to feed, he will need to kill several walruses on this trip. In the past, a thick shelf of ice would cover parts of the ocean near northwestern Greenland in September and stay until June. But for a number of years, the ice has been thick and the hunting good for only 3 or 4 weeks. The ice shelf gives hunters access to walruses, seals, and whales. Without the ice, hunting these creatures becomes nearly impossible. One winter, Qaanaaq's hunters found themselves without sufficient food to feed their starving dogs. The hunters understandably asked for help. The government responded with money, while fishing corporations assisted by sending in fish by airplane, and the hunters and their families survived one more year out on the ice. Sadly, today, fewer than 500 ice hunters are able to live by hunting alone. They travel by dog sled, wear skins, and hunt with harpoons, just as their ancestors did. At the same time, they now also use guns and cell phones and watch TV. This changing weather is bad for us, Danielson says, scowling. Some people have to go other ways to make a living. His wife, Iletsuk, who used to go with him on these hunting trips, has had to take a job at a daycare center in Canuck to help pay their bills. The government now funds job training programs to help ice hunters find other employment. Warmer weather does provide some opportunities. Quantities of valuable fish that prefer warmer water are increasing, and melting ice has uncovered some of Greenland's valuable natural resources, minerals, metals, and gems. Electric power plants, with the promise of new jobs, may soon be built on rivers filled by melting ice. But the last ice hunters may not be able to get used to working as fishermen, in mines, or in power plants. As Danielson says, without ice, we can't live. Without ice, we're nothing at all.
Army ants. One of the best places to observe army ants is Barrow, Colorado, an island in a lake created by the Panama Canal. The island is home to as many as 50 colonies of Eciton burchellii, the most studied army ant in the world. The colonies of this army ant are huge, ranging from 300,000 to 700,000 ants. Linking their legs together, they have the capability to use their own bodies to form enormous nests called bivouacs. There they stay for about 20 days, as the queen lays as many as 300,000 eggs. When the ants go hunting, as many as 200,000 of them leave the nest in a group that broadens into a fan as wide as 14 meters across. The swarm raid takes a slightly different course each day, allowing the hunters to cover fresh ground. Protecting the ants wherever they go are the soldiers, recognizable by their unusual, oversized jaws. The soldiers have a powerful bite, but their attack is almost always suicidal. Because their jaws are shaped like fishhooks, it's impossible for the soldiers to pull them out again. Amazonian tribes have used soldier ants to close wounds, breaking off the bodies and leaving the heads in place. Eciton burchellii are blind and can't see what's ahead of them, but they move together in such great numbers that they easily kill the non-army ants, insects, and other small creatures that constitute their prey. When the group happens upon a break in the path, ants immediately link legs together and form a living bridge so that they can move forward without any delay. In Japanese, the word ant is written by linking two characters, one meaning insect, the other meaning loyalty. Indeed, individual ants are completely loyal to their fellow ants. They display many examples of selfless cooperation that, while certainly extreme, can't fail to win human admiration.
Unexpected beauty. The beauty of moths. For many people, moths are swarming, dust-colored pests that eat our clothes and disturb us by flying around lights after dark. However, to artist Joseph Shear, they are creatures of beauty. The images he creates bring out the beauty of moths, with colors, shapes, and patterns that have never before been seen so clearly. Digital tools let you see things you'd never see just looking with your eyes, Shear says. Shear's images have been displayed around the world, and one reaction is heard everywhere. People insist, "No, that can't be a moth," says Shear. One Swiss viewer credited the insect's lovely variety to their exotic American origin. "We don't have such nice moths in our country," he declared. In fact, every country has moths that can amaze. The process began with a moth hunt in the state of New York. Shear would leave the lights on and windows open overnight at his university office. He later returned to collect the moths that had flown in. When the building cleaners complained, he moved the hunt to his friend Mark Klingensmith's yard. Mark's a gardener with lots of stuff growing on his property, Shear says. Moths like it. They set up lights shining over a plastic container on a white sheet. Then they watched as moths emerged from the darkness, flew carelessly into the sheet, and fell into the plastic container. "We got a different species every night that first season," Shear says. The patterns and colors were overwhelming. Scanning the details. Using a powerful scanner designed for camera film, they were able to capture detailed pictures of moths. Small moths present special challenges. "One twitch of the finger and there goes a wing," says Shear. "I try to drink less coffee when I'm working on them." The scanner records so much information that a single moth can take 20 minutes to scan. A scan of just 2 small moths fills an entire CD. All that information means the size of an image can be increased 2,700%, but still retain all the details and appear perfectly clear. You'd need a microscope to see the details shown in Shear's prints. Shear's work is not only a new form of art. He can also be congratulated for making a valuable contribution to the record of moths where he lives. He has helped identify more than 1,000 different species. Not from Alaska or the Amazon, Klingensmith says, all from one backyard.
A dream of flight. For thousands of years, humans have dreamed of flying. The ancient Greeks told the legend of Icarus, a boy who flies so high that the sun melts his man-made wings and he comes crashing down to earth. Across history, many more people have died after jumping from a tower or cliff with man-made wings that didn't quite work. Flying for humans seemed an impossible feat. Yet many continued to dream of flying as free as birds. One such dreamer was the great 15th century artist and inventor Leonardo da Vinci. He studied the flight of birds and even designed his own flying machines. But they, and he, never left the ground. 500 years later, standing on a windy hill in North Carolina, in the U.S., I was about to make the dream come true. Unlike Leonardo, I had the help of a hang glider, a light, modern machine that makes flying simple and safe enough even for tourist entertainment. I held onto the hang glider as tightly as I could. Terrified, I ran down the hill. Suddenly, I was running in the air. I was flying. What a thrill! Now I wanted more. A friend in my hang gliding class suggested I next try a tandem flight. She explained that it's flying in a hang glider for 2 people. A small airplane tows you up 600 meters into the air and lets you go. I decided to try it with my instructor, John Thompson. Up we went. When the airplane released us, it felt like falling from a building head first. "You can fly now," John said. After a few moments, I found the courage to turn the glider a little to the left and then a little to the right. I was more like a pigeon than an eagle, but I was flying. Of course, hang gliding is not the only way mankind has learned to enjoy the freedom of flight. Today, some people skydive, while others, known as base jumpers, enjoy the excitement of jumping off buildings, cliffs, and bridges, often illegally. They free fall for a few exciting moments and then open a parachute before hitting the ground. It's as close as human beings can get to flying like a bird, says base jumper J.T. Holmes. Switzerland's Yves Rossi might disagree. The wings he has invented for personal flight have 4 small engines. He steers them just by moving his shoulders. For 10 minutes at a time, Rossi does seem to fly as free as a bird, having both power and control. One of his longest flights was across the water from France to England. "It's awesome. It's great. It's fantastic," says Rossi. Since then, he has continued to improve his wing design and hopes he can motivate the next generation of thinkers to do something different, even if it seems impossible.
Dark Descent. The Deepest Cave. It's August 2004. Caver Sergio Garcia Dils de la Vega kisses his girlfriend goodbye at the entrance of Crubera Cave. He doesn't know it yet, but Crubera, in the western Caucasus Mountains, is the deepest known cave in the world. It will be weeks before he sees her again. A member of an international team of 56 cavers from 7 countries, Garcia Dils's mission was to explore Crubera. The team also hoped to be the first to reach a depth of 2,000 meters, 6,562 feet, a feat compared to conquering the North and South Poles. One team member even describes descending into Crubera as like climbing an inverted Mount Everest. Like climbers making their way up that famous peak, the cavers descend slowly. They climbed down ropes through huge tunnels and crawled through tight passages. Bringing over 5 tons of equipment and other necessities with them, they established underground camps along the route. At each camp, they stopped to rest, eat, sleep, and plan the next part of the journey. Some days, they worked for up to 20 hours at a time. And each day, they left miles of rope behind them to ease their return ascent and telephone lines to communicate with people above. In the third week, they reached 1,775 meters, the deepest point achieved by cavers so far. Here, progress was blocked by a sump, a passage filled with water. The cavers had only a few options. They could empty out all the water, dive through, or go around it. Gennady Samokin dove to the bottom, but was disappointed. "No chance to get through," he said. Searching for a way around the sump, Garcia Dills risked entering a cascade of near-freezing water. "The water was so cold, I lost the feeling in my fingers," he said. He too was unsuccessful. Finally, the team found a way around the sump through a tight passage they called the Way to the Dream. At first, they were exhilarated. However, it soon led to yet another sump at 1,840 meters. After a short test dive, Samokin emerged, smiling. There was a promising passage, he reported. Sadly, it would have to wait. After nearly 4 weeks underground, with supplies running low, the team was out of time. They would have to return to the surface. 4 weeks later, following the path opened by Garcia Dills's team, a team of Ukrainian cavers reached the sump at 1,840 meters relatively quickly. After much searching, a pit, named the Millennium Pit, was discovered that allowed them to pass the 2,000-meter depth. More pits and passages led them to 2,080 meters, a spot they named Game Over. But the caving game is never over. In 2009, Gennady Samokin returned to Kribera. This time, he reached a depth of 2,191 meters. Then, in 2012, he broke his own record, diving to a point 6 meters deeper, at a total depth of 2,197 meters. And so the caving game goes on, with deeper and deeper caves calling out to be explored.